Helma Miller Brenner. And I was 12 years old when we came over in August of 1951. New York Harbor on August 6th, unloaded August 8th.
World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945. The global conflict was between Germany and the Axis powers against the United States and the Allied powers. The conflict left large parts of Europe in complete destruction. The end of the war would lead to the spread of communism from the Soviet Union into Eastern Europe and the global shift in power from Europe to two rival superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. Military operations in World War II on the territory of Yugoslavia started on April 6, 1941, when the kingdom was conquered by the Axis forces and divided between Germany, Italy, Hungary, and Bulgaria. Helma grew up in Yugoslavia and later moved to Austria with her mother, father, and brother.
We moved back to the city with Grandma and Grandpa. She was afraid to live in that little village anymore because things were getting so dangerous. And the night we left, my uncle was border patrol. So he and his partner had a motorcycle with a sidecar. Yeah. It was a double motorcycle. And so he came and had to convince everybody to leave because the usual air raids, you go in the basement and all that kind of stuff. And he said, you're not going to survive this. The shooting was going like, say, already on Sherman. Is that close? So he convinced us to leave. There wasn't room for Grandma and Grandpa. They had to walk to the nearest train station, and they had to kind of sneak along the walls. There was no light, because otherwise you were seen and would be shot. And so my Aunt Liz was sitting in the sidecar with the two kids, her little girl and my brother. I was sitting on the spare wheel, hanging on. No, wait a minute. My mother was sitting on the spare wheel. I was in between the two guys. There was no seat there, and I was 5, okay? Had to hang on to my uncle, and I kept feeling that guy's pistol because he was ready to shoot back. I mean, this is... Yeah. And I was scared of that. Because when you're 5, you're stupid. I wasn't scared of what you hear. Just having left, we really, no food, clothes, or anything, just really. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we ended up near Vienna, and then eventually came to Tyrol, and there's refugee camps, just like is for these people nowadays. And then Mom and Dad got jobs and got out of those camps. We were not... When I was born, it was Yugoslavia, so we were not considered Austrian citizens anymore, even though it used to be Austria-Hungary. My grandfather was, my 2 oldest uncles, because they were born before 1914. Okay. So we were considered aliens, and going to school or anything else, I wouldn't have had, it was the native kids first, and then if there's room. So my dad didn't feel I had a future. So the first country that let immigrants in was Brazil. We thought about it. Australia came on, and this is where my aunt ended up, because she had a little boy by then, and we were supposed to follow them a year later. In the meantime, Canada opened up, and we were getting quite interested in doing that, because Canada is a nice country. And the last ones to open up was USA. Okay. And then that was my dad's first choice.
The American section had the best reputation, but Helma ended up in the French section. There was also both a Russian and English section. Immigration remained relatively low following World War II because the numerical limitations imposed by the 1920s National Origin System remained in place. The Displaced Persons Act of 1948 and Refugee Relief Act of 1953 allowed for admission of many refugees displaced by the war and unable to come to the United States under regular immigration procedures. About 40,000 Austrians entered the United States from 1945 to 1960.
It's a Navy ship. It transports the Navy over there, and instead of having them come back empty, they decided to bring refugees. So we left Innsbruck. We were in Salzburg for about a week. There was a lot of papers to fill out, and you're being interrogated because they wanted to make sure you weren't a Nazi, you weren't all this other stuff. So we were in Salzburg for a week with all that. I mean, my dad went through this, and I think I don't have those papers anymore. And then we were in Bremen for 3 weeks until our ship left. The only good thing was the army trucks got a whole bunch of kids together and took us to the circus one day. That was nice because it's nothing we could afford and nothing we had done in a long time. And so then on the boat coming over, we had to work off. I mean, it was a free ride for us, but you worked it off. My dad ended up scraping paint off of the front of that boat you're seeing, and my mother was part of the cleaning crew. And because it was a Navy boat, which was for only guys.
Okay, yeah.
And so it had 7 cots. They used 5. Me being the youngest one, guess who had to go to top? And we got there on a Saturday, so nobody was doing anything, so we were in New York Harbor. And the sight of the Statue of Liberty is great. Still remember that. Our friends that we were riding with had written us that in Milwaukee there were a lot of German-speaking people, there were a lot of job opportunities, and there was an apartment where they were living in the same apartment house, and as of the 1st of next month they got us down for it, so we gave notice and came to Milwaukee.
Today, Helma lives with her husband of more than 50 years and is more than happy with the life that she made for herself and her family in America. Immigration is a key part of America's history. Our country was built by immigrants, and their contribution to the building and shaping of this great country can never be underestimated.